Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Industrial Growth Lab podcast. I'm excited to have you all listening today. I have two great guests, and we're going to be covering a very exciting topic. Our topic today is how to turn your HubSpot CRM into a revenue-driving machine. We're going to be talking specifically about HubSpot as a CRM, but if you have Salesforce or Pipedrive, another CRM, a lot of what we'll talk about here will be applicable to that. But we're big HubSpot lovers, so that's where most of our conversation is going to fall today. And really, we want to talk about that your CRM isn't just a data repository. If used correctly, it can drive revenue. So in this episode, we're going to talk about how industrial companies can optimize their HubSpot CRM to generate actionable insights, personalize customer experience, and drive revenue growth. So I have two guests with me, like I said, Hunter and Brian. Can you both say hello and introduce yourselves?
My name is Hunter Buren. Been working with Evenbound for a little over 5 years. I'm a HubSpot implementation specialist here. Pretty much what that means is I work all the time in HubSpot. I love building it out for any of our clients and optimizing it for anyone that has been working in the tool for a while as well.
And Hunter, I have a really great, you can see your 5-year Evenbound statue today. So Hunter's been here for a minute, which is great.
My name is Brian. I'm the Director of Client Experience. So what that means, I oversee our account strategy team, and those are the people who work with our clients directly, predominantly on team as a service retainers, so like long-term retainers, and just helping drive real value towards their KPIs. But beyond that, I've been in the marketing world I was doing the math the other day, like 14 years, and 6 of which is like agency side, 6 of which on the receiving end of the agency side. So I felt really uniquely qualified to kind of fit into this role where I know what's good experience and what's bad experience. And my role is, at the end of the day, to drive good experience for all of the clients that we work with.
Before we really jump in, I want to start with an icebreaker. And this, I am making it HubSpot specific. Sometimes I try to make these more personal, but we're talking about HubSpot today. So let's just focus there. What is the most underutilized or surprising feature of HubSpot that you think people should use more?
Yeah, I can start. I think something that's been rolled out like recently that I think not enough people are on yet is the new lead scoring tool. HubSpot is sunsetting their old lead scoring tools, and I feel like a lot of people that I feel like oftentimes companies will just set up lead scoring and then completely forget about it and not do anything with it, but not realize that it's something that you can like continuously refine and like actually utilize to qualify out your leads. And the new lead scoring tool has a ton of additional features, like a bunch of different features around qualifying actions, fit score, things like that. And I think a lot of companies should be looking into that tool and implementing it, especially considering that the old one is going to be sunset soon as well.
My answer is related in that before working heavily in the industrial space, I would have said something different. But working in like that industrial manufacturing space, I think one of like the most underutilized things is like just using an MQL lifecycle stage, believe it or not. It's always so like get a lead, sell the lead, old school in that sense. And that's, just to say from a systems perspective, right? We haven't really had that need for it. But when you bring in a more robust CRM, things like lead scoring become available to you, and they help you identify like what would be a good lead before we even talk to them. Like, are they showing the right signals? And we have that technological capability in HubSpot and really any CRM these days. So I would say it's that. And really to piggyback off of that, for me, it's like custom reporting, attribution reporting, these really robust reporting abilities that we have. When you tailor your reporting to your particular needs as a business and then bring in these things like lifecycle stages, lead scoring, ROI, revenue, like it's all there. It's at your fingertips. We just need to not just use what's out the box in the dashboards, but build it custom.
Yeah, that's similar to my answer. I have been playing around with customizing like deal and record property views. So when you click into a company record, customizing what you see on the right hand side, in the middle, on the left. And that's been really interesting. And I feel like I was doing that for ourselves. And I was like, why haven't I been doing this before? There's a lot of stuff that you don't necessarily want to see. Um, and so to have the most important information up top, readily available to you so you don't have to go searching for it, I think is underutilized. Or at least I was
Yeah.
underutilizing it.
And like making it easily accessible for your like marketing people and your sales reps so that they're actually updating that information too.
Yes.
Like if it's right there when they click into the contact or company record, then they're going to realize if there's something that needs to be changed.
Yeah, it becomes a lot easier for everybody. I'm going to keep us moving. Let's talk about the common pitfalls of typical CRM usage for industrial companies. So, what do you see the biggest mistakes being in how industrial companies use their CRM and how they maybe think about it as, oh, it's just a data repository, or, um, it's not an actively used tool?
I think something that I've seen a lot is there's two different things. One is companies that don't fully migrate all of their tools over into their CRM that they can. I've seen a lot of companies that just have, I mean, with like migrating over into a CRM, you're going to be coming from like a ton of different software platforms. And I've seen a lot of companies that like look at the things that are available in HubSpot and they see a lot of those tools and they say, this doesn't look exactly like our email platform, or this doesn't look like exactly like our chatbot or whatever that tool is. And they just write it off. But the great importance of like doing a CRM migration in general is pulling all of that data in one place. And I think making sure everything that like you're paying for already within your CRM you're utilizing, and B, just like making sure all of the tools that you have built out are all in one central place so that you can report on all of those different interactions and things
Mhm.
like that.
I've definitely heard, oh, it doesn't look just like MailChimp, and that's what we use, so we're going to keep using MailChimp, but
Yeah. And it's a
am I?
client who like has Marketing Hub. So they
Yeah.
already are paying for emails. So it's,
Yes,
yeah, I think that's a big thing that people need to, you just need to get over the initial hurdle of, yes, it might look a little bit different, but it's going to function the same, if not better.
for sure. Brian, what do you think?
Good data and good data hygiene is what we need to make strong and well-informed marketing decisions and sales decisions. So, I can't predict my sales forecast for the rest of the year if the data I'm working with is, 10 degrees off of what it should be. And then you're making decisions on hiring that are completely misinformed. Um, so I would say that's the biggest pitfall. It's just bad data, which is predicated or created with a disjointed tech stack, or it's not set up correctly. I'm not saying you can't have multiple pieces in your tech stack, right? Like almost every company we work with has that. Like an ERP is an example of such a common thing we work with. But when you build that integration with that ERP, it has to be done very well, right? And if it's not, then you get to the issues I was just talking about.
Yeah, I mean, specifically with an ERP, I feel like we've seen a lot of industrial and manufacturing companies use an ERP as their CRM, or even worse, using a spreadsheet as their CRM, which relates to your point, Brian, of that's going to create bad data because your systems aren't connected. Um, and to Hunter's point, like if we can get over that adoption hump, like then you're going to see success and ultimately, I think, see revenue growth. So you kind of both answered my next question of like, why do so many industrial companies struggle to like see ROI from their CRM? Anything you'd want to add to that?
Yeah, I think like the one additional call out there is like a lot of the time companies just don't have any reporting on ROI to really begin with. Like a lot of the time, if we're seeing someone who's utilizing their ERP as like their CRM or spreadsheets or something like that, there's not much actual ROI reporting built into those tools, and not much ROI you can pull because you're not getting that whole picture of the customer journey in one place. So I think going into a CRM that will house all of that information, it's coming from not much data to begin with, which is great because now we can see all of that information. But it does become difficult when you're trying to relate it back to like previous years when you didn't have those capabilities, because a lot of the time that data is just like missing for your company.
I'll just throw in, for me, for a struggle to see ROI, like implementing the tool, but not the strategy behind a CRM implementation, I think is the big struggle that I see. You'll have sales teams that aren't aligned with the marketing team. You know, they see the CRM as a marketing tool, or you'll have reports built that aren't focused on like our true business outcomes. So I would say like the biggest struggle I see beyond kind of what we've already talked about is really just like we build this tool, but there's no like clear KPI tied to the usage of the CRM. And I think the best example, one I've probably already beaten to death in the 10 minutes or whatever we've been on this podcast, is once that lead leaves our CRM tool and it goes to like an ERP, if that's where we're doing like our sales quote building, and we're going to send it out to like a client, is like we don't get information back. The data starts to become bad. And that ROI struggle is like, okay, we sent the lead off to our sales tool. Well, we need to hear back, like, was it a good lead? How much money did we get from that lead? And then tie that into the full picture to show ROI from all of our activity. So when those tech stacks aren't connected and we're not showing like, you know, John Doe came in and ended up, you know, being quoted 150K and sold, like, great, let's get more John Does kind of thing.
Let's talk specifics. So you're talking, Brian, like KPIs, you know, what metrics are we using to like report success within HubSpot? So I want both of your opinions of what do you think are like non-negotiable. These are key data points you recommend everyone tracks in HubSpot, whether that's number of leads we get every month to, you know, conversion rates from emails. Like there's so much data in HubSpot. What do you think is the most important for people to look at?
I would say my answer there is one that I feel like everyone says you shouldn't track, but I believe people that say you shouldn't track it say that because they don't do it the right way, or they can't get everyone aligned to do it the right way, which is number of MQLs. So you always hear like it's a vanity metric. How many leads did we generate? It is, right? To say we generated 100 leads last month, but it's only a vanity metric if everything that comes after that is not working correctly. And we're not fully in alignment on what is an MQL. And the reason I say that is because the full picture of the funnel is like a must-have, need-have for me. Leads generated, marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads, opportunities, clients or customers or whatever you want to call them. If we can have a clear picture of each of those stages and full alignment between marketing and sales on what qualifies someone to be an MQL and an SQL, then we can start to look at the funnel and say, okay, great. I generated 100 MQLs last month, but only 40 became SQL. So only 40 sales said, hey, I got to touch them, like they're actually really qualified. So there's a little bit of a breakdown here between what we're saying is marketing qualified through our automation and what sales is saying is qualified through their discovery. How do we fix that gap in that funnel and make sure that percentage is what we want it to be based on benchmarking and based on historical data? Like for me, that's the need to have to be effective from a marketing and sales standpoint, because then we can forecast, then we can look at revenue, because we know at the end of the full funnel, we can do 10 customers off of 100 leads. Great. And I'm just throwing numbers out here, by the way. But, okay. So if we could generate 150 MQLs, how many customers could we get? And what does that mean for our revenue for the rest of this year and for the rest of next year?
Or my favorite, if we can improve the conversion rate between MQLs to SQLs without needing to go source more MQLs, like, that would solve that problem too.
Yeah, now I'll tell you, one of my favorite conversations I've ever had was with a client, and I told them we have to reduce our conversion rate between our SQL to our opportunity stage. And they looked at me like I had four heads. And I was like, hear me out though, right? Because we have a benchmark, we have a historical number that we know works, and a benchmark across the rest of our industry. If our number's so high, what's that telling us about the rest of the funnel? It's telling us something. Well, it's actually probably telling us that we're being really strict about who gets to that SQL stage, and we're probably leaving stuff on the table. So, like, as opposed to saying, let's just give you less SQLs, how about we give you more? The conversion rate is going to go down, but you know what's going to happen at the very end of that funnel is that customer number is going to go up. So it's funny because I love the talk about conversion rate. And that's really where this all stems from for me, is looking at that funnel and saying conversion rate has to be at a very sweet spot. If it goes up, let's bring it down. Here's how we do it. If it goes down, let's bring it up, and here's how we do it.
So lifestyle stages, non-negotiable for Brian. How about you, Hunter?
I was actually going to say same thing around conversion rates. I think it's important to also talk through like deal stage conversion rates as well, because that's going to really dive into the opportunity stage of your life cycle stages and see where opportunities are getting stuck inside of the pipeline. I think something that might be a little bit controversial, but like is something that you should be doing, is sales shouldn't skip stages inside of your deal pipeline. Like the stages that you have set up inside of your deal pipeline should be required stages that every single opportunity needs to go through in order to close out. If you have deals that are starting in one stage of the pipeline, if you have deals that are like going from the first to the third stage, it's not going to give you the best conversion rate reporting. And it's also, I think, going to pose the question of like, if most of your deals are skipping that second stage, is that a necessary stage to be reporting on? Or is that just an action that needs to happen within that first stage of the pipeline? If it's not something that needs to be required or needs to happen in every single opportunity inside of your pipeline, think either A, do we need to build this out as a separate pipeline? Is this like a different process that we're taking opportunities through? Or B, do we even need this stage in general? Could this be replaced by just like a task, for example, or something along those lines?
And I think if you do what Hunter says and you don't allow deals to skip stages, you're going to have much cleaner data, much more actionable data. And I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're after in a CRM is, data we can trust and make decisions off of. So I liked both those answers. I think those are really, really helpful. Moving along, I want to talk about personalization and customer experience within a CRM, because I think that's an important topic. And especially in the age of AI, I feel like I'm seeing more and more about, personalize your experience, make it unique to who you're talking to. And we can do that with, AI tools and tools we have in a HubSpot CRM. So talk through maybe some of your favorite ways or examples of how you've helped companies using HubSpot personalize their customer experience.
Yeah, I think it's a very helpful thing with HubSpot as a whole because it's a CRM built on top of a marketing platform. So you have a lot of those additional marketing tools that don't just have to be used to market to new leads. They can also be used to just help move your customers down the pipeline, like help nurture anyone throughout that customer journey. In addition to that, I think something that HubSpot does well is it kind of like marries personalization with automation very well. There's a lot of different sales tools and things like that you can pull in some automated personalization into. For example, like sales email templates. If you have emails that you're sending out to your leads, your customers, whoever it is in that customer journey, you can pull in specific information about those people and just automatically populate it into those emails. It saves you time, and it makes those things feel a little bit less like this is just a templated email that is being sent to me as a client. It makes it feel like, okay, this is something that someone took a little bit of time to craft. They mentioned what we talked about recently. They have my name in there, things like that make it just a little bit more personable when you're reaching out to people. And I think also implementing some additional tools to help users not have to re-import data, doing things like auto-filling fields on forms for clients that have previously filled out those forms, similar to like doing that on your meeting links. If you have clients booking meetings with you, auto-filling that information just to save them a second or two is something that's helpful, and it tells your clients that you value their time as much as they should value yours.
My answer to this question would have been similar, especially like I do a lot of email marketing for us, and like email marketing through workflows or just, one-off email sends, and using personalization, especially like first name, the company name, even their job title and a subject line has really proven to increase open rates for emails. So I love doing that. And there's just, going back to our life cycle stages, I've created workflows that are, a series of emails, but I'm segmenting those emails to be sent by the person's life cycle stage. So a MQL is getting a different communication than a opportunity because, they're in different stages of their journey and you should speak to them differently. And so I think even at that level, it's important to just, kind of tying it all together, life cycle stages, email personalization, and just personalization in general just makes their experience so much better with your organization. Okay, over to you, Brian.
One thing that like we've done with our clients, it's the feedback loop. That feedback loop is really important to me because it gives us information on of our closed won or even our closed lost people, what worked, what didn't, so we can better understand our niche. We can better understand the value that we bring to the industry, and lean into that more, right? We might find the people that we lost deals on, and this doesn't have to be an NPS survey thing. It could be a marketing email, right? But why did we lose those deals? Was it price? Was it we didn't have the right material? We didn't have the delivery time that they needed. There's a lot of information we can get from that can help us, one, better understand ourselves, and two, better understand the customers that we could have won. Tailor that for them in the future. And to kind of bring that full circle, well, when we find out over time with our CRM through data, with our ICPs, our different like ideal customer profiles, ideal customer personas, we can start to build the journey that they go through a little bit more specific to their use case or their own needs. So we might find out that someone who comes in through the process that's an operations manager or facilities manager, they really care about tech sheets or these couple little things. Well, great. Let's make sure we're getting to them earlier on in their journey so that when we have our sales conversations, they know the technical specifications. They're not closed lost because we can't meet a very particular thing that they need. It's kind of building off what you guys have said. Is like, let's personalize that journey.
Another thing we've done for Evenbound is we have a closed lost workflow. So after a certain amount of time, if someone, we lose an opportunity and we say, oh, okay, we're priced too high, they chose a competitor, we send them through a workflow specific to the reason they closed lost. So you chose a competitor, oh, hey, how's it going with XYZ company that you moved forward with? I think that's just more impactful. It's an email that's more likely to get read and engaged with than, just a cookie cutter email.
Yeah, not all closed lost opportunities are true closed lost opportunities. There's a lot of options for growth there in the future. It just might not have been the right time or situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And they say like 90% of people in your target audience aren't ready to buy. So you might have just hit them in that wrong time. But when they are ready to buy, you want to be top of mind for them. I do have one more question before we wrap up. Can you just give maybe a quick real world example of how you've seen industrial companies use HubSpot CRM to drive revenue?
I can give one where had this customer who's in the manufacturing space. We went through the whole process of implementing HubSpot, and they fully adopted it. From a marketing engine, 100%. From a sales engine, we were getting there. And I had some conversations with them about their sales process of like, hey, why aren't we going all in here? What's the hold up? And there was a lot of like, well, it's not what they're used to. And we got to this point where I was like, all right, who can we get to adopt this thing that we know 100% will do it? We had one guy on the team. He just like went all in. And we found that the RFQ process that we had set up, everyone else was like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to respond to these things. We got this Alex guy down to like 5 minutes, and his conversion rate jumped on anyone that came in through HubSpot by like 30%. I can tell you right out the gate that anyone who's listening to this call could not tell me that a 30% increase in close rate on incoming leads on an RFQ process wouldn't benefit, right, their business. And that's really the benefit we drove is like, look, this whole automated system, things are just moving faster. And here's how it works. And they adopted it, and they saw this massive spike, and we had everyone else on board within the next like 3 months, I think. Just from this one, like testing out this one guy. So
that lead by example,
Yeah, I think it's so important to have an advocate in the company, someone who has bought in, because once you have one person buy in, they will truly realize like, this is something that's just going to help me save time in the long run and help me close out way more opportunities. I think it's just an example of a client that I've worked with in the past. We worked with this industrial manufacturing company that had multiple different branches of their business. They manufactured different items under the same roof, so they kind of had a few different business units, and each of those different business units were doing their sales in different processes. One of them was fully in spreadsheets. One of them was coming from a different CRM. One of them was mainly just like out of Outlook. So it was very spread out and sporadic, and most of them didn't work together. However, like the main company didn't have any proper insights. All of the executives at that main company weren't able to pull all of those different items together. It's hard when you have those different business units that are in separate platforms to compare them between each other, is see how one arm of your business is doing as opposed to the other. So we were able to, took a while because as I mentioned, they're coming from different tools. So there's a lot of different like learning gaps there. So some of those different business units, we had to do a little bit more introductory. Here is what a CRM is and how you can utilize it. Others, it was more along the lines of like, this is the new CRM you'll be working in. Here's how it differs from your existing CRM. But once we were able to fully get all three different arms of their business onto one central platform, it not only helped the people that didn't have any way to track their revenue, just like keep track of all of their leads and ensure that like nothing's falling through the cracks. But it also gave the executives at the company just a lot more insight into each of those different branches of their business, figuring out how are those doing, how are they each driving revenue, and how are the employees inside of each of those branches able to convert their leads as well.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good note to end on. The overall theme being when you have clean and organized data in your CRM, you're able to make much better decisions, which ultimately should impact your bottom line and should help you improve your revenue. Just to make it simple. But you guys both gave me great examples, so I appreciate that. And I appreciate your time, jumping on and sharing your knowledge with me and everyone listening. If you did listen, and you liked the podcast, definitely follow the three of us on LinkedIn. I'll include our profiles in the description below. Subscribe to the podcast, share it with a coworker, share it with a friend. And thank you all for listening, and thank you, Hunter and Brian, for being here today.
You.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.